All right, all right, all right. Hey, let me be the first again to welcome you, fellows, back to that's right, back to day 4 of the 5-day challenge. Rise from silence. Right, the most important, important thing a man can do is stand in his truth. The most powerful thing a man can do is stand in his truth when the most difficult times around conversation. Right, we've been talking about it all week. That's right. We finally got a space where we can come in and feel comfortable talking about the things that have been an issue for us, no matter how successful we may have been, no matter how much we're providing for our families, no matter how many times we travel around the world, all these things. But when we get home and close the door, and that conversation becomes one on one, and it requires us to at sometimes bare our soul. Many of us are remembering when we did it before and we got blasted and it hurt, and then it just made it worse, or we reacted in ways that I'm talking about Jeff too. So I mean, just know that I fit in this conversation, and I hear you, fellas. Reacted in ways that were angry and then just made things worse, or we just shut down, right? And justified it. I used to justify it in my head as well. That's better than getting angry. It's better than saying things I'll regret. Better than whatever. Fill in the blanks and let us know what your better was as we go, right? But I just wanted to be just we got something special today, and we're going to do some things a little differently than we have done the last 3 days. And man, I've got a guest that is just set up to speak to us in ways. Well, I wish we could have recorded the pre-meeting before we had the meeting, because this brother was speaking, man, some powerful, just conversational things that fit with all of us. So, fellas, listen, you're in the right place if you're that person that I kind of described a little bit about me. I was talking about me when we just kicked this thing off, right? That went through a whole lot of reasons why not to stand in vulnerability. Went through a whole lot of reasons not to just recognize I needed help in that space. Most importantly, that there's patterns in my life that have been running on autopilot for a long time that we've been uncovering. And today is really going to be powerful because today, day 4, is around vulnerability, the disciplined truth, and what that means. So anyway, I mentioned my name a couple times. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jeff Tyson, affectionately known as the Comeback King, and founder of Conversations with Jeff, who's hosting this event, and founder of Comeback King Enterprises, where we believe in man, this is a message I want everybody to hear because we're standing in it. We believe that the comeback is not a limitation in our life. It's not something that we need to fret and whine and complain about, but it's designed. Our comebacks are designed for us to come out of this whole struggle with purpose, come out of this whole disappointment or whatever it might be for you with strength and faith, baby, going from isolation into a community, man, of kings and queen warriors, baby, stepping into what's been given to us, the promise that we've all been given, man. Ooh, boy, if you're hearing the promise, if you believe in the promise, then you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's get to why we're here. And as you do when you come in, I know people are coming in and out. Just let us know where you're from and what resonates with you. But let me just tell you that this friend of mine and the guy that's going to come in here and drop some real powerful nuggets and his perspective on some things is a gentleman that is a world-renowned speaker, best-selling author. He's got his own program and champions, and he's just a man of faith and a father, and he keeps it real. So if you guys can help me bring to day 4 of this challenge, my dear friend from way out from somewhere out, I believe out in California, maybe, Mr. Jerry Roisentul. What's up, Jerry?
My friend, it is so good to see you. And how dare you talk about me behind your back, talking about my back, talking about all these things. I'm like, well, that's me, that was me, that was me. Oh, man, brother, it is so
Yes,
good to see you. It is so
you
good to
too.
be here with you. Thank you for
You
the
too.
honor and privilege of just hanging out with you and your audience and sharing some things that I hope will encourage and inspire them.
Yeah, Jerry. Well, it's something we've been trying to do for a while, and it just came up. So I know that what we were talking about before and what this whole challenge is around is really kind of just letting guys know that we hear them, kind of letting them know that there is a safe space. And the most important thing I think I can say around it is that, man, if we are able to pull off all of the things that we carry from the past and all the misguided information and all the things we felt like were the way we're supposed to behave, right? And really just get raw, and the gifts that we get from that, man, is just amazing. And you were talking about something that you've been known for 20 years, and maybe why don't you tell people a little bit, if you like, a little bit more about you, if I missed anything, and then about that.
Sure. Well, like I said, it's just an honor and privilege to be here with you, buddy. And so my friends call me Coach Jerry. That's just kind of how I'm known, because if you look at my last name, everyone butchers it. So I just decided to call myself Coach Jerry. Makes it easy. People can remember that. But yes, I am an international keynote speaker. I am a speaker development coach. I actually work with people that want to become better speakers in whatever facet that they're in. I'll teach them how to be better speakers. I'm a best-selling author. I focus on leadership and mindset. And, there's one thing that I know as we're talking to an audience of men, and that is, many of us were raised in an environment that told us that we had to be tough all the time, that we couldn't show any emotions, that we couldn't be vulnerable, that crying meant that you were weak. And a lot of us grew up in environments like that, and that became our identity as we became older. But the problem that we find is that many times that identity that we carried from our past destroys so many of our relationships in our present.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen with men all over the world as being a pastor as well and ministering to men all the time. I see this happen all the time, where we're constantly talking about how we were raised, how we were and how we are. And the thing I like to tell men, Jeffrey, is that I understand how we were raised and how we were brought up. But if we don't like the way that we are, we can change.
Yes, sir.
Decision we make. It's not, well, this is just the way I am. No, that's the way you choose to be.
Yes.
Because if you don't like the way you are, you as an adult can make the decision to change it.
Yeah, but that's funny you say that, because just yesterday I was talking to a guy, and he says, one of the things that we men do is they say just that, and it's just the way I've been, and they can't change it. And I think some men believe that that's okay if they stay in that space, if that's the reasoning for them not accepting it. I mean, and it's not. It is. I'm thinking, no, sir, that's not it.
Yeah, it becomes like a justification in our mind.
Yeah.
We just justify that this is where we are, this is how we've been, this is the way it's going to be. Yeah. And then we wonder, when we look around, why are our relationships suffering? Because I believe that in any relationship, you want to have, and I was telling you this earlier, I've taught this, and this, goes for personal stuff, but I call it my VAT formula. And the very first time I say this, people say, did you say fat? No, VAT, V-A-T, V-A-T. And it's something I've been teaching for 20 years. And that is this: the best kind of leaders, the best kind of parents, the best kind of anyone of any kind, especially as men, is when we can get to the place where we are okay being vulnerable, being authentic, and being transparent. Because that's where the real person comes out.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're taught as men. We're taught not to be vulnerable. No one cares about your being authentic, and no one wants to hear your transparency. And so we bottle this stuff up inside of us and carry it like boulders all of our lives. And then we lash out at people. We lash out at people in our lives. We get angry. And we don't even know why, but it's just happening. It's because you can only carry that for so long before it begins to come out. That's one of the challenges I think we have as men sometimes.
Well, especially, when if you're just talking all those other things you just mentioned, but when you get into the level of a relationship, husband and wife, and it's the emotional side, and it's the tender, real tender piece of it that we come across, and it shows up in there. What can you say, Jerry, for those guys? Because that's kind of what the message has been. And a lot of times, well, they say, "Oh man, well look, I do whatever she doesn't have to lift a finger. Yeah, she's got a job, she makes her money. We have all these things, but I provide for everything. Go travel the world. All these reasons, right? To say I can't look around at themselves and say there can't be anything wrong."
Man, you're digging some dirt, brother. Let me tell you.
I'm just reflecting on my old journey, man. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my word. Well,
I qualify.
what you just said was so important because that's the typical male makeup. I take care of the bills. I do this. I do that. I take care of her. Blah 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 blah. I mean, I'm doing all of this stuff for my spouse. That's great. But your spouse needs more than just that.
Yes.
And sometimes we just feel, well, why do I have to talk? I mean, I'm giving her all this stuff. Why do we have to have a conversation? Because we are wired differently.
Yeah.
Men are wired to protect and create.
Yeah.
That's what and to solve problems.
Yeah.
So part of the thing when I do counseling with people that are in relationships and they're just going back and forth with one another, part of the challenge is as men, when our wives or our girlfriends talk to us, we are instantly in, I'm going to solve this mode.
Yeah.
Right? We already got 42 solutions to how to fix the problem you're talking about. And then they get angry because they just want us to just listen. They don't want us to solve the problem, which goes against how we're wired.
Yeah.
So what I teach when I teach ministry to people is as a man, and this might sound funny to some of you guys that are listening to this, but I'm telling you, it actually, it works. And that is if your spouse is going to talk with you or your girlfriend wants to talk to you, ask them before you get started. Are you talking to me for me to help you solve something? Or are you talking to me so that I will just listen to whatever you're saying?
Get that clarity, brother. I mean, I love that. Get the clarity.
Right? And then if they say, I just want you to listen, then don't say okay and turn around and start trying to solve the problem.
Exactly.
Because then you're going to create a bigger fight. And sometimes but here's the other thing though, men are not naturally the greatest listeners in the world, right?
Terrible, man.
Terrible listening. We have ADHD, DDH,
all them D's, man. Every one of them, yes.
All the D's. We're listening, and we're like squirrel, right? All over the place. But I think for the betterment of relationships, we as men have to realize that our spouses and girlfriends are wired differently. Yeah. And when you can understand how they're wired and you can feed into that, you strengthen your relationship instead of making it challenging and difficult and complicated. Right. It's all about communication.
It really is. And unfortunately, a lot of times, they think it's because they're bad communicators that's the problem.
Right.
But really, that's just the cap, the title of it. But underneath it is kind of what we're talking about.
That's right.
It's being patient, being clear. I say the exact same thing to my wife. I've learned that, sometimes I forget and she'll look at me after I start talking too much. But that example that you said, man, that is so powerful. And it's just, and she says, thank you. And that's the thing that they when we're talking about and so we've got that as just conversation, and then we have some things that are maybe it's our behavior that she wants to talk about, right? Like every time I talk to you, you go down this path and you really don't listen to me, so I don't feel like you're hearing me, and all that's probably true. But if it takes it another step down into some emotional things, right, that might trigger, will trigger, not might, that does trigger some old feelings,
Right.
you know,
Absolutely.
and then and how when you do you have those conversations when you're working with people, and particularly with men around, to kind of how to stand into that space instead of lean back,
Yeah, well, when a spouse says something like that, our initial reaction is we're being attacked,
being attacked.
right? And when you feel attacked, you become defensive
Yeah,
and you just shoot back. And
yeah.
I'll tell you this, most of the things that we as men shoot back hurt way more than the things they're shooting at us.
Ooh, man.
And let me
Yes.
tell you something. You can apologize and you can pull that little dagger out and say, I'm sorry, but that pain is not
Ooh,
going away because
no.
you ever noticed how women can remember things from 25 years ago? 25 years ago, you can't remember what happened last week. Women have a memory, man. They will not forget stuff.
Will not forget.
So once that dagger goes
Mm,
out, you can take it back, but the damage it did is going to remain.
yeah,
And we have
yeah,
we have to be mindful of that when they say things like that to us, we have to try, and it's hard.
yeah,
We have to try to say to ourselves, I cannot
mm,
attack.
yeah,
Can't be defensive.
yeah,
I just have to try to have a conversation. Hey, I'm sorry you feel that way. I don't mean to do that. I will work on getting better at that.
yeah,
Something like that so that you're meeting them in the middle and they feel
yeah.
like they're being heard.
Right,
Realize
right.
that most spouses, the problem is a lot of times when I'll speak to the women and I'll ask them, what is one of your biggest challenges that you have? And they'll say to me, I don't feel like my spouse actually hears me.
Yeah, yeah,
And it happens more times than not. So if you just can acknowledge what they're saying in a calm sort of way and allow it to be heard, even if it hurts,
mm-hmm.
you can work through it better than if you become, Conan the Barbarian and you start just, going back at it.
Yeah.
That's not going to help.
And listen, man, we're talking about it, but I just, had, something happened a couple earlier this week when I did something wrong, right? And my wife got there and it hurt me, and I wasn't Conan, but I wasn't nice.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I didn't respond. I'm like, I was trying to grab the words as they were coming out of my mouth. It was too late. We can't, like, like you said, once it's out, man, it's
It's
cutting.
out. It's
It
out.
cuts.
And it's
So,
not, and Jeffrey, it's not an easy thing for guys to do. We're not here trying to tell guys, oh, this is easy and it's just going to happen overnight. But it's a decision that we make to say, I don't like the way it feels
yeah,
when I am like this.
yeah,
So if I don't like the way that it feels, I have the ability to change that state by
yes,
changing me.
yes,
And that's
yeah,
why women just want that transparency, that authenticity.
yeah,
They just want to be able to talk in a way that they feel that they're connected because men are generally less emotional creatures than women most
yeah,
of the time.
yeah, yeah,
But we've got to find that place to meet them in the middle. It's
yeah,
the give or take thing. I've got to give a little, I got to take a little. And so
yeah,
you've got to find a way to do that, or
yeah.
there'll be this constant stress and struggle all the time.
Stress, struggle all the time, and the reality of things is that you start doing this. You start leaning away from each other, and unfortunately, it's more men than women that
Yeah.
are creating the barrier, creating the walls, and we talk a lot about that wisdom around silence. Sometimes it's really important to keep your mouth shut, right? But then the other times is when we go silent for reasons that are based off of what we've been talking about. You
Right.
know, we're hurt and we don't know how to respond, and then we blame her, or we avoid the subject, or we get real quiet. You know, and I love your that piece and the authenticity that you share with us, and because Jerry, here's the thing, man. What do you think about this? I mean, I think I know, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is when a guy says, "Man, you know, I was vulnerable before, and you know, she 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 doesn't respond when I'm being vulnerable. She cuts me even more when I'm being vulnerable. Like she doesn't appreciate me being vulnerable. So this vulnerability is crap, or I choose." I'm kind of keeping it clean. They start to, justify why they should stay stubborn and not be willing to make different choices, because that's what you said from the beginning. It's some choices.
It's choices. Well, I love your line for this. Most men don't need another strategy. They need the courage to tell the truth.
Yeah,
And so when you're vulnerable and you get shot down, then you tend to be less vulnerable the next time and the next time and the next time. And then we carry that as a grudge,
yeah,
oh, well, I was vulnerable and da da da. I find, and this is not always easy to do. So I'm not suggesting that anything I'm talking about is something easy. It's a choice and a decision you make. It's just really
yeah,
what it boils down to. Is sometimes if you're that man and you're just, I'm being vulnerable and I get shot down, everything like this, your line says courage to tell the truth.
yeah,
Well, then speak truth. Listen, I'm trying to be vulnerable. I'm trying to share what I'm feeling or what I'm dealing with. But every time I do that, you always seem to shoot me down. So if
yeah.
I keep feeling this way, do you really think I'm going to keep being open and vulnerable with you? So how can we fix this?
Yeah,
Because I'm trying, but
yeah,
you're shutting me down. And the more you do that, the less I want to try.
yeah,
So you're speaking your truth in that moment,
yeah.
because then it's on them, the other spouse, to respond to that.
Right,
And that's where you
right,
can start to have hopefully some conversations about it.
right, right. And so this is not about blaming women for things, and I
No,
will just say that
no.
it's ladies. I hope you hear us and try and picture your experiences as you and I are talking, Jerry, about those times, because let's face it, we could be pretty frustrating, right? We as men, we can get them into a spot where they're heated, and you can't turn the switch off, and they may say some things that they wish they could take back. So I guess, fellas, we need to just remember that, right? And if we're the leaders, if we're this kind of goes back to if we're truly the leaders of the household, right? And you can debate about how that is supposed to mean biblically and wherever it might be, then we ultimately have the responsibility,
Correct.
right?
Correct. We are
Ultimately,
supposed to be the leaders of our household, the spiritual leaders, the normal, just the leaders in general.
right,
And so how would a leader lead?
right,
And sometimes we have to ask ourselves that question. If I'm a leader of my household, is this how a leader leads?
right.
And most of the time the answer would be no. So that's not how a leader would lead. How
Right,
can we lead correctly? And once
right,
again, I understand in the heat of the arguments, man, your brain doesn't think until sometimes after the arguments are done. And
right.
then you go, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have
Yeah,
done this. But the damage is done, and you just have to kind of let it go. And the worst thing that I think we can do is to not allow some time to let things cool off before we have a conversation.
yeah.
Because sometimes we'll have a conversation when we're still heated and things will come out that we would rather not have said. Like you said, it's like a 3D movie. Here come the words, and you're like, no, come back. But they're gone.
Yeah, slapping her upside the head, man. She's a
They're slapping them everywhere. You're like, oh no. And when I was married to my son's mom, and we got divorced 20 years ago, and still raised a great son together regardless of that. But when we were married, anytime that I got heated, where that angered tone would come out, she would just very kindly say to me, "I'm done. We will talk later." And she'd just walk out.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes her walking out would get me even more angry, right? I'm not done talking.
Where are you going?
Where are you going? We're not finished with this conversation. But what happened is over time, it got me to recognize when those things were happening. And so it taught me how to better calm myself so that we could have that conversation instead of her walking away saying, "We will have this later."
Yeah.
Because she didn't go for any of that stuff. If I started yelling, it was over. She was gone.
Right.
And so sometimes we just have to recognize that. And, you just have to ask yourself as a man the hard question: do you want to be right, or do you want to have peace?
Ooh, I love
Come on,
that.
somebody. I know. Some of you men aren't going to like that one, but hey, it's the truth. Do you want to be right, or do you want to have peace? Peace is more important to me than being right.
Yes.
And sometimes we have to think in that mindset as we're going through things. You're thinking, "Oh, this is going to escalate. I'm really do I want to be right, or do I just want peace?"
Yeah.
And sometimes we just have to learn to just, okay, maybe now I'm going to say something I regret. And I had conversations with my son's mom. Sometimes it was me saying, "You know something? If we keep going, I'm going to say something I'm probably going to regret. So in order to avoid that, we're going to stop now, and we'll pick this up later when we can talk a little more calmly."
Yeah.
Diffuse it before it explodes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. But sometimes, though, man, this is, fortunately, I've not had a lot of this. But sometimes the heat of the moment, this is probably something unrelated to what we're talking about, but I think it's true. Sometimes the heat of the moment, people enjoy that space. In other words, they use that as men use that as kind of a control mechanism. So I'm just we like to kind of just tell on ourselves out here, fellas. You need to stop that. If that's what's going on, you need to kind of stop that, because she's only going to tolerate that if she does it at all for a short period of time. Right. Because that's just not how it's supposed to be.
Right.
That's intimidating. It's all those things. And so I just had to slide that in, because we want to disrupt some behaviors in all areas of relationship and communication.
I'm so glad you said that, because it is so true. And we're not here trying to say, "Oh, all this is easy and it's just a piece of cake, and the women have no, responsibility for things." No, some women can be more difficult than guys. Okay. So we know that. But one thing I've learned is that we can't control other people. We can only control ourselves.
Yes.
And that's part of the challenge we have as men is, well, I'm just going to try to control this process, and we can't.
Yeah.
But you can control what you do, how you react, how you respond. That's in your control.
Right.
You can't worry about, well, she's like this and da 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 da. You can't do that. And Tiffany just typed in the chat. Communication is everything. One of the things that I do that I love in my business is I work with couples, and I have an assessment that we do for couples, husbands and wives. And it talks about their personality styles, their communication styles. It talks about their leadership strengths. How do they lead in their household? And the interesting thing when I do these assessments for couples is that we don't allow the husband and the wife to see the assessments in advance. So meaning they'll do it privately. And then when we get together is the first time they actually see their assessments. So we're comparing communication styles, personality styles, the way that you lead, and this and that. And it is amazing to see how many marriages that I have had people in there that have been on the brink of, well, this is over and it is done. And we'll do these assessments, and I'll hear this all the time. Now that makes sense. Right? Now I know why you do that.
Yeah.
And when you understand each other's communication styles,
Yeah.
when you know how to communicate in the way that they receive communication,
Yeah.
all of a sudden it can change a relationship just like that.
Changes it, and it changes it. It brings it closer together, right? I mean, at another level. I mean, when you're able to do that, Tiffany says, yes, be responsible for self, and communication is key. Tiffany, thanks for stopping by.
Yes.
And we appreciate you, and Lloyd and some of the other folks who have been dropping in. Yeah, so that my friend right there is it. You know what I mean? And so because it I believe this to be true. Tell me what you think it is, right? I mean, I've got this thing, you know, at Comeback King Enterprises where I've talked a little bit about it before the show about bringing, you know, different perspectives around the comebacks in our lives, and seeing them as a lifestyle necessary to step into our real purpose and not a limitation. And men, when we talk about being leaders, like we're talking about in intimate relationships and with our spouse, wife, or girlfriend, whatever it might be, and we really do live in the space of what you say, vulnerable, authentic, and transparent. The completeness, you know, there's a completeness then but I just experienced the completeness then because I believe it elevated my ability just to be.
Right.
That makes sense.
Makes 100% sense. Makes total sense. And it's that presence to be, as you said.
Yeah.
Just to be. And sometimes that's what we need to be. We just need to be still.
Yeah.
We just need to, I always say, you want to learn how to respond and not react.
Yes.
Because when you react is when the dagger of words come flying out of your mouth that you cannot get back once they've done their damage. Yeah. And is it always easy to do that? No, of course not, because we just get in the heat of things and we just, boom, off it goes. But we've got to learn how to respond and not react. And respond means take a breath before you actually say something, so you can gather your thoughts if you can.
Yeah.
Don't allow yourself to get lured into that, because that's when that process starts. Screaming escalates, the bad things come out of our mouth, the words we call each other escalate, and then all of a sudden there's no peace in our household.
Right.
And I would rather have peace than be right.
Yeah.
That's just the way I live my life. Life's too short.
Life's too short. I love that. And as we wrap up, thank you for that too. That was very powerful. As we wrap up, before we came on live, you mentioned a passage that you wanted to share, and can you share that and kind of tie everything up in the next minute or so?
Absolutely. I think this is a fabulous passage. It's in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 13, and I'm just going to read it because I think it just summarizes everything we're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. It says, 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, 2 people lying close together, spouses, can keep each other warm. But how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. 3 are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. And so what does that all mean and what we're talking about today? Don't do things alone. As men, have some brothers in your life that you can turn to, talk to, share with, process with. Maybe your spouse is not in the place where you want to do that right away. Have some brothers. You've got to have people that can lift you up when you're down in the dumps. And sometimes our spouses can't do that. And it's not that they're not capable, it's just that it's just not their place to always be lifting us up. But
Yep.
when you have those brothers in your life that you can trust, rely on, and talk to that will be honest with you, man, I'm telling you, I have a circle of buddies, about 4 or 5 friends I've known for years and years and years. Man, they're like my inner circle of people. They're these people that Ecclesiastes are talking about. That when I
Right.
fall down, I call them up. Hey, I need prayer. This is what happened. Was I right? Was I wrong? What should
Yeah.
I do? And I don't do it by myself because I'm not strong enough to do it on my own. So I want to
Yeah.
encourage the men, find some guys that you can connect to that have the same values, the same beliefs that you do, and connect with them so that when you fall,
Mm.
they'll be there to lift you up so that you don't have to try to lift yourself up by yourself.
Yeah. No, man, that's fantastic. And that's a perfect way to wrap this up. But
Yes.
before you go, Jerry, I'll tell folks how they can get a hold of you. I
Oh,
didn't do
yes.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. You can check out my website. My website is championmentorship.com. You can go to LinkedIn and you can use my full name, not the Coach Jerry, but Jerry Roisentul. That's what I'm under on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me there. And if you have any questions or any way I can be of service and bring value to your life, love to chat with you.
Yeah, well, I would think that there's a lot of reasons why people should get a hold of you, particularly after today. And I'm sure you have people chasing you all the time. So, Jerry, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out today, man. This has been fantastic
Great.
piece, and I really, really want you to know that I believe the message that we had today is meant for today, and appreciate you finally
Appreciate
giving us some
you,
time.
buddy, and love what you're doing. And so glad to be a part of it with you.
Thank you very much, my friend. We'll
You
be
got
in
it, brother.
touch. We'll see
All
you
right.
next time.
Talk
All
to you
right.
soon, man.
Yeah. See you, buddy. Well, listen, folks, I just got to tell you that, I hope that I know most of you are going to watch the replay, and when you do that, really kind of go back there with it. Jerry just dropped so many different pieces of information and nuggets along the way. And the conversation was one that was intended to be for those out there that are really in the space where you want to have a better relationship. Men in particular is part of the challenge, right? And stepping away from the silence and like, oh man, like the title said, the need to the courage to tell the truth, baby. Right? Ask for help, like Jerry was saying, give those examples, man. Raise your hand if you're in a space that's uncomfortable. You don't have to do this thing by yourself. So we invite anyone looking for a place to land and to reach out to us and become part of the Comeback King Warrior Queen community, right? Because we believe, as I said from the beginning, you no longer have to take this journey in life by yourself. And fellas, it's time for us to rise above our insecurities, rise above our past rationales and justifications around why we do certain things when at the end of the day, like Jerry has talked about and we had discussions around today, it's our responsibility. I don't care what's happened in the past. He started out by saying, why are you still choosing to hold on to what's happened in the past as a reason for you to be where you are? Justifying your inabilities to be able to lean in. And I want you to know that we don't judge here. These are just conversations that we need to have. And I qualify, right? As I've been on both sides, and I got to tell you, it's better on the other side. And yes, I still have time. I just told you during the conversation last week, I said something to my wife, and she's rolling her eyes. I'm like, oh crap, here I go again, right? So we do that. So as always, we want you to be prepared. Day 5 is coming up tomorrow. We're going to tie everything together, fellas, and you had some homework. So I want you to think about what is it that you can stand in vulnerability around with disciplined truth. What can you decide to do in your part to have a better outcome when things go sideways, when that old pattern that you haven't figured out how to break yet shows up? What can you do differently? Pick one thing, write it down. The next 24 hours in my conversations with anybody, particularly with my loved one, when I feel like I'm going back down that spiral, down that hill, I'm going to do what? Jerry mentioned, take a deep breath. He mentioned walk away when you need to. There's some certain things to do that. What can you begin to discipline yourself around so the outcome becomes different? And tomorrow we'll talk about that. So I want to say thank you again for Comeback King Enterprises and Conversations with Jeff for putting these programs together and building a community of 10 million people. And we can't do it without you guys helping us to understand the power of the comeback. So listen, we'll see you guys tomorrow, and make sure that we got something special to wrap up the challenge. We'll be talking about that tomorrow, so don't miss it. Again, if you want the VIP, I think we closed it on Tuesday, but if you really want to get some of the recordings, reach out to me. We'll make sure you make that available to you. And again, thank my friend, Mr. Jerry, for showing up today. Man, wasn't he amazing? We'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.